Welcome to another section in the sourcing in procurement and supply class. We're in the sixth section, which is talking about the other sourcing strategies. So this section is going to help us identify several other sourcing strategies in procurement and supply. By the end of this section, we should be able to differentiate between local and international sourcing, identify the consequences and importance of supplier switching, and explain consortium buying. The first sourcing strategy we have here is local sourcing. Local sourcing simply implies using suppliers who are based within easy reach of the buying organization. So for instance, as a buying organization in Ghana, established in Ghana, local sourcing will be all the suppliers in Ghana, inside Ghana that we use, that suppliers requirements, right? Then we move on to international sourcing. International sourcing implies the sourcing of goods and services from overseas and other country supplies, especially importing. So basically, buying materials, products or services from manufacturers or suppliers that are located outside our home country. That's what we refer to as international sourcing. So local sourcing is within the country, the focal firm country, whereas international sourcing is when it's outside our focal firm country. Then we have supplier switching. Supply switching is a strategy in sourcing used by suppliers in a multiple sourcing arrangement or where there are close substitutes. It's a key source of power for the buying firm and so ensures competing suppliers to provide best value. Supply switching involves dropping an existing supplier or deciding not to renew a contract in favor of a new or alternative supplier. Buyers need to be aware that switching suppliers causes upheaval in cost, especially where strong relationships have previously been established. So in simple terms, supply switching is when a buying organization moves from a particular supplier to the other. So when we decide to stop working with a particular supplier in favor of a new supplier that we are bringing on board to supply us that requirement, then we say we've switched suppliers. The cost element mentioned here is about the fact that previously most resources might have gone into managing the relationship with this old supplier. So in a case where a long-term collaborative relationship was established with the old supplier, we definitely spent resources in developing this supplier. Now we have to use the same resources to develop a new supplier while letting go of the old supplier that we've previously developed. This is going to cost us some cost. The final strategy we have here is consortium buying. A buying consortium is a group of separate organizations that combine together for the purpose of procuring goods or services. A buying consortium might be created when a group of organizations see mutual benefit in aggregating their requirements, creating larger contracts for economies of scale and increased bargaining power to secure advantageous terms. This might be especially beneficial if one organization's requirements on their own are insufficient to attract attention or discounts from high-quality suppliers. For buying consortium, the relationship with a supplier is more likely to be a transactional because it could be difficult for a supplier to develop long-term partnership relationships with a group of different organizations. This is particularly the case when the members of the consortium change over time, with some new members joining and existing members leaving the group. Buying consortium is encouraged in the public sector in order to maximize value for money. Of course, each of these strategies has its own advantages and disadvantages. So for instance, with the consortium buying, one disadvantage is the fact that the buying organization cannot form, the suppliers cannot form a long-term relationship with the buying organizations because they change. And because it's more than one organization that the supplier is dealing with. The advantage will be because the buying organization can take advantage of the economies of scale that comes with buying in bulk or buying larger quantities, right? With the supplier switching, one risk is the new supplier that has been identified may fail to perform up to expectations, which will cause disruptions in the supply chains. Then we move on to international sourcing. One advantage of international sourcing will be the competitive price and cost-saving requirements available. However, a disadvantage will be high exchange rate or the risk of exchange rate. With a local sourcing, one benefit can be the delivery lead times could be faster and more reliable compared to that of international sourcing. However, a disadvantage could be access to a limited supply base. By way of summary, we have looked at the other sourcing approaches such as local and international sourcing. We also looked at what supplier switching is, and then we looked at what consortium buying is. Thank you.